Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the day when you will learn how to cook very healthy fermented food. The vegetables are very healthy and good for health, and the fermented vegetables are even more healthier. There is a good connection between these. For example, look at this vegetable, the celery. It has fibers. Inside there are fibers, non-digestible fibers, and when these non-digestible fibers are fermented by bacteria, by the probiotic bacteria that are already on the plant when it is growing outside in nature, it's already collecting bacteria. This leafy green has bacteria on it, this paprika has bacteria on it, almost any plant and vegetable has bacteria on it already. You just need to wait and give it time to ferment a little bit, but you can also accelerate this process. And the fermented vegetables are more healthy than the regular vegetables because when the bacteria ferment the fibers, all these fibers that are inside, when they ferment them, they create the vitamin K. Vitamin K is an essential vitamin that is responsible for the bone growth and for the growth of the teeth. So in case you are developing or you're a young person, small person, baby, you need this vitamin K to grow your face and to grow the jaw so that your teeth are all good and don't be stuck together, so that later on you won't need any braces. So the people in cultures who eat the fermented vegetables or vegetables with fiber have more broader faces, like the Korean people who eat a lot of kimchi. They have broader faces. And you're going to learn how to ferment leafy greens and vegetables with fibers in the professional and more advanced way. So let's look at the ingredients and later on let's explain what they do. Vegetable oil. Paprika could be any other vegetable that is not moist and not watery, doesn't have a lot of moisture. Celery, some leafy green, 1 glass jar of already fermented cabbage, the German Bavarian style. The beans that are cooked is going to be a fermented protein which has another antioxidant. It's not vitamin K, it's PQK or QQP, don't remember which, but it's an antioxidant which is 5,000 times more potent than vitamin C. Black olives for the flavor. Yeah, why not? Then curry, herbs, black pepper, onion, red pepper that is with fumes, with salmon flavor, because why not? And garlic is especially well. So all the vegetables and all the things that you ferment, the essential thing is that they are not wet. So you remove the wetness and moistureness. There is not so much juice to add. And extra bacteria, I will add the Polish kefir and remove the excess liquids later on. So just mix it up a little bit and remove the liquid. The spices are for the reduction of the bacterial growth. This will ferment maybe for a week at most, 3 days, 4 days, and then it's ready for consumption. And the spices will give the flavor and prevent the overgrowth of bacteria, which is very essential when you ferment food. And the oil is gonna give extra flavor and seal off the air, and then also give some nutrition to the bacteria, which will grow some extra vitamins and extra properties in extra antioxidants with the oil and form cells. Is another way of fermenting food, but it's only for short term. So all of this will ferment maybe for a week maximum, or in the fridge for 2 weeks. So there is no danger of being exposed to dangerous bacteria. It's possible to ferment for a longer time, then again you will have to kill off the bacteria completely or make their life very miserable so that they don't overgrow. And if you just ferment it in an accessible, easy way for the bacteria, it's more healthy, more antioxidants, more vitamins. They process the fiber, give the minerals and vitamins and nutrition to you back in your gut, and make you healthy and stronger. So let's try this. Chop it off in first. Ta-da-da-da-da! By the power of the magic, the food was chopped. Okay. Jokes aside, the ingredients are chopped and they are more accessible for the bacteria to ferment. The bacteria has more access to the fiber, and we really want the fermented fiber. The ingredients are once again leafy greens and fibrous greens, onions and garlic, and paprika just for the fun, because I like it. Some black olives and mushrooms. Mushrooms is a superfood. They have a lot of antioxidants, more antioxidants than anything else. They're antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial and whatnot, probably against viruses too. So for this batch of fermentation, I'm gonna use these ingredients and beans. For the fermented protein, if you ferment protein, you have to be very careful because you can create nasty bacteria in it, so it's only short-term fermentation or very, very dry fermentation. And now let's feed those ingredients into the half of this beautiful jar, and the other half is gonna be this fermented cabbage, the German style cabbage, the Bavarian style cabbage, fermented with wine, very nice, can recommend. The spices and the kefir bacteria. Basically you're gonna have 4 or 5 different types of bacteria. The bacteria that live already on the plants when they are in the fields or when they grow, the bacteria that grow in the kefir, the bacteria in the fermented cabbage, and the bacteria that is in the ambient air. It's gonna be very nice and very healthy. I did squeeze half of the vegetables into the beautiful jar. The other half will go into the second jar. And as you can see, it's all dry, and you can squeeze it in and condense it with a spoon. The selection of the vegetables is very important. The vegetables, they have to be kind of dry and fibrous. They have to be fiber. For example, those vegetables work very well. It depends also on the person. I like the taste of the fermented garlic, fermented onion, fermented mushrooms, fermented leafy greens. Fermented cabbage is also exceptionally well. You can also ferment leaves and grass if you want to. It's possible if you have access to good bacteria and decent grass and decent leafy greens, like leaves from some tree which are soft. You will never run out of food if you have access to those 3 things: spices, grass, leaves and bacteria. You can ferment it and eat it all day long. It's going to be healthy, antioxidant and whatnot, vegan too, in case you're worried about that. So in case you want to live in space, if you have those 3 things, bacteria, access to leafy greens and spices, you are set. No need for other food, because it will provide all the micronutrients for you that you need in your life, including the vitamins that are only available in meat, because the bacteria, they also produce the same things that the meat produces. Okay, now let's fill up the rest of the jar with the bacteria and see how it goes. Now comes the advanced part of the preparation. Now let's do the advanced thing. Let's mix the lactobacteria from the kefir with the fermented cabbage from the glass jar. Many people make the mistake, they think the probiotic bacteria is only from the yogurt or the kefir. The probiotic bacteria is more available in the fermented fiber. in the kefir or the yogurt there are only a few types of probiotic bacteria that are connected to the milk. In the fermented vegetable fiber there are billions or millions of different types of bacteria that are very useful and very beneficial for health. And the advanced thing that we are doing now is that we mix the lactobacteria with the fiber bacteria with the plant bacteria that eat the plants and ferment them. You can also do the same with yogurt. Kefir is best. I found that the taste of kefir and cabbage, it ferments very well, very smooth. It has a very nice taste. A little bit milky, soft, creamy. And I do pre-mix it outside of the jar because later on I want to remove the excess water. Water is a problem if you ferment vegetables. Too much water will make them soggy, and the internal bacterial overgrowth is an issue with that. The less water you have, the better it is. So you have to remove the water like that, spoon by spoon. And then later on mix with the rest of the vegetables. So let's do that. Mix the vegetable fiber with lactobacteria just for fun, for the taste. Is that one thing you can also try. And remove the excess liquids. Let's do that. With the ingredients that I had, I was able to mix 3 jars that are almost ready. The bacteria are in, the vegetables are in, and now come the spices, another advanced part of the preparation. Let's do how that is done. Spices are an essential part of the fermentation of vegetables because they protect from the bacterial overgrowth. You want to control that the bacteria only grow in the fiber and not in all the mix. And to enhance the advantage or the efficiency of the oil in the spices, you have to mix the oil from the spices with the vegetable oil that will dissolve the oil and also kind of make it antibacterial, antifungal and whatnot. So I'm mixing the spices with the vegetable oil, and later on I'll just add the vegetable oil on top of the vegetables in the glass jars. In this case I used red chili pepper, dill, herbs, mix of herbs, curry mix, black pepper and wasabi. In case you have your own favorite spices that you like to eat with vegetables or with meat or whatever, you can also mix them with oil if they have any oil inside of them. If they don't have any oil inside of them, it's pointless. It's only when the spices have the oil. So now this mix is kind of antibacterial. It's a bit counterintuitive that you mix antibacterial things into the fermented food that you want to grow with bacteria. It actually works. It's counterintuitive, but it works because the bacteria, they grow inside of the plant, inside of the fiber, and the outside is insulated with the antibacterial mix. So you want to have the bacteria only to grow where you want it to grow, inside of the vegetable. And also you want to control it. This mix will be ready in 3 to 4 days, and within 1 week I'm gonna eat it. So there is no danger of bacterial overgrowth or dangerous bacteria that will start to develop inside or fungal spread. So it's a very short-term fermentation, which is more beneficial. It's kind of a simulation of a stomach, external stomach simulation, but the spices, they will add extra flavor. One more thing is that I will add fermented soy sauce to the vegetables. It has also antioxidants and It adds to the flavor. Something like that. The final step is very easy. Just add the oil into the mix of vegetables that are already in the container. This is the almost finished product. Now you can see the different layers. I've added the spices and the oil from the top, and I also left some space inside so that I can mix it, shake it, so the spices and the oil mixes up well. And also it will work by gravity alone, so that the spices and oil will slowly sink. It's better to mix it all up. You can mix it externally in a bowl, in a larger container, and then later on put it all into the jar. I found out that if you squeeze and condense the whole vegetable, all the vegetables inside, it doesn't work as well. So you have to be a little bit of airy, so there has to be a little bit of air, because it's a medium air and medium without air. So it's kind of a both. There are bacteria that survive with air and bacteria that survive without air. If you would like the taste of the ones that survive with air, you leave some air between the vegetables and just shake them and let them ferment. If you don't like them, if you want the anaerobic one, the one that live without the air, you condense the vegetables and leave them as it is. There is also an option to just take and fill up the excess available space. This one's too tight. Oh, all too tight. Another option is that you leave that you fill up the excess space that's on top with the vegetable oil, so that all the vegetables are soaked in oil, like sardines or like fish. The fish are fermented in this way. They are fermented in oil and spices. You can also ferment algae in oil and spices, and you can also ferment vegetables in oil and spices. But you have to watch that the vegetables are kind of dried a little bit, so there is no excess water. The main issue is the excess water and the bacterial overgrowth, which you can control by spices, temperature. If you put it in the fridge, it can be good enough for 2 weeks, 4 months. No, for 2 weeks maybe. If you outside of the fridge, maybe for a week. In the hot climate, within 3-4 days, it's gonna ferment well. Basically, after a few days, in the room temperature, you put it into the fridge and then finish it. And now let's look at the health benefits of fermented food. Fermented food is the superfood. Yes, I repeat, it's a superfood. Because the bacteria help to convert the valuable fiber and the valuable minerals that are in the food, in the vegetables, in the meat, in the grapes, in the fruit. They help to convert the nutrients in the food that are into the more bioagreeable form, that is more digestible for the human body and more easily accessible. And they also add on more things to it than there is originally inside. For example, antioxidants and the vitamin K, or in the case of fermented grapes, the resveratrol. It's the one thing that is a very antioxidant and is improving the healthy lifespan during the old age. Basically red wine. There are many examples of fermented food. One of them is wine, fermented ham, smoked fermented ham, fermented vegetables, fermented meat, fermented beans, fermented milk, fermented cheese, fermented yogurt, fermented kefir. I think you can ferment almost anything that's organic. The main trick is to remove the excess liquids, excess water from the food that you want to ferment. You can ferment meat or protein or eggs. If you cook the eggs, you boil the eggs and you ferment them. The main trick is to remove the excess water, the excess moisture, and to ferment it. If you ferment the protein over the long time, like 6 months or 1 year, you have to remove and keep it dry, constantly dry, and to keep it in the low temperature so there is no excess overgrowth of bacteria. You have to make them grow slowly, very slowly. If you want to ferment vegetables, you can be faster. You can ferment them within a week and then eat the fermented vegetables within a week, just like in this case. And as you know, the fermented things are awesome. That's why people like cheese, that's why people like smoked fermented ham, that's why people like fermented meat, that's why people like yogurt, that's why they like milk, that's why they like butter, that's why they like wine. So in short, the fermented food is awesome. And what you've seen in this video is the more advanced version of the fermentation. It's a short-term fermentation, so the bacteria will be very young and very short-lived, and there's going to be spices. The vegetables are going to be semi-fresh but fermented. I'm going to eat it within 4 days and then finish them within 3 days of opening the jar and keep it in the fridge after that. Now let's look at some health benefits of fermented food. If we do a little bit of the research about the fermented foods on the internet, it's not that hard to find their benefits. When we ferment vegetables, the fermentation process and the bacteria do create beneficial enzymes that are good for the human body and for the metabolism and for the health benefits. The B vitamins like the B2, B12, which is good for muscular growth and whatnot, or cellular growth, which you can only find in meat. But because the fermented food produces these B vitamins, you can also be a vegetarian or vegan and don't eat meat and have all the vitamins, more vitamins that are in the meat. The fermentation of the fiber also does produce omega-3 bacteria, which is very good for the brain. And it produces a lot of probiotics, more probiotics than in the yogurt. This article doesn't state this. This is, by the way, from the Wells Mama. So thank you, Wells Mama, for spreading the good knowledge about fermented food. The probiotics during the fermentation process, they are the same probiotics that are on the plants that grow on the fields, in the open fields. Not sure about the hydroponic farms, but I'm sure, but there are probably bacteria too, and nicer ones. So you get more probiotics, more vitamins, and more omega-3 fatty acids from fermented foods. The North Indians, they look like Chinese, but they're Indian. North Bengali, they sell 1 ton. Like, can I see? Yes, nice. Under €1, 6 pieces. Let's buy some. Vegetable one, vegetarian. Come on. If we research a little bit more on the internet, we can find even more benefits and more surprises from the fermented foods. This article is from the bbcgoodfood.com. It states all the usual benefits, the digestion and absorption. The fermented foods and the fermented vegetables help to digest the salads and the fibers of the food that you eat. The fermented foods and the bacteria on them also increase the synthesis and availability of nutrients. When you digest the nutrients, then the bacteria in your gut, they help to digest the food that you eat and to give the minerals and nutrients back to your body. And it also creates vitamin K, which is very important for the muscular growth and for the bone density growth. And this vitamin K is only in the fermented fiber, so you cannot get it anywhere else. So if you want to get buff, muscular and healthy, you need to eat fermented fibers. The probiotic bacteria and the bacteria that are in the fermented food also increase the immune functions because they train the body a little bit and because they protect the body from the overgrowth of the bacteria in the gut. So the gut is already occupied by the probiotic bacteria from the fermented food, so you reduce the probability that some other bad bacteria will start to grow in your gut. The probiotic bacteria also create the phytic acid, and they remove it from the legumbres and seeds because this phytic acid, it combines to iron and zinc, so it reduces the absorption into the body of iron and zinc when you eat legumbres and seeds. But if you ferment the legumbres like beans and seeds, or if you eat fermented vegetables with beans, then your body can absorb more of the iron and more of the zinc. So eating meat with zinc, with probiotic bacteria from the fermented vegetable fiber is a good thing, it's a good combination. That's why the Germans like to eat sauerkraut and sausages or meat. It's a perfect combination if you want to absorb all of the nutrients of the meat. You're already eating meat, so let's use all of it. If you don't eat meat, also good. Works also. The gut bacteria and the brain are connected, and then if your gut is healthy and happy, then your brain is also happy and healthy. Let's look a bit more and further research it.
The holy Indian cow in the cloud. What's up? What's up? On a hug? Oh, yes, you can go. For some reason she's eating sugar cane. Why are you eating sugar cane? Sugar is bad for health. Oh, it's not good for teeth.
A little bit further down the cave of knowledge, you find the website at drmurray.com. Fermented foods, they have a lot of pyrroloquinoline quinone, or shortly quinone, PQQ, which is a vitamin-like substance. It's an essential for the cellular growth in the body, for the brain growth, for the muscle growth, bone growth. And the fermented food is one of the richest sources of this PQQ. Pyrroloquinone. Quinone is a very difficult word to say. The way it works, that this PQQ vitamin is also an extremely powerful antioxidant, which is a recyclable antioxidant. You can use this antioxidant multiple times. It stays in your blood between the cells, and it can be used for, here it says 20,000 catalytic conversions, so 20 times. And the vitamin C can be only used for 4 times. So which means it is 5,000 times more effective than vitamin C. Which means fermented food or fermented cabbage is 5,000 times more efficient than just vitamin C. Just go get fermented kimchi or fermented sauerkraut, and no need for the vitamin C supplements. But you also have vitamin C in the fermented cabbage, and you also have vitamin C in the fermented sauerkraut and kimchi. It's a good thing. You cover 2 things at once.
Yes, the guy is cutting green mango for sale. It's like a lemon treat in India. Cut, chop. A very nice machine for chopping.
Let's dive even deeper into the rabbit hole where the foxes and the dolphins live in the sea. The fermented foods, they produce a lot of butyrate. It's a butyric acid, short butyrate or bitrate, as the Wikipedia says it. And this bitrate is a very beneficial substance for cancer and antioxidants. The bitrate, which is a byproduct of the fermented foods and the fermented vegetable fiber, this bitrate induces apoptosis, cell removal or cell dysfunction of the cancer cells due to the Warburg effect in cancer cells. Warburg effect is the stickiness, or so they stick together and cannot disconnect, which leads to butyrate not being properly metabolized. So it's an anti-cancer agent. So fermented food is also good against cancer. And then the Science Direct website, there is a study which is done by Megan V. Bourassa, Ishraq Alim, Scott J. Bultman, Rajiv R. Ratan from the doi.org. And the Science Direct has these highlights from the study that they have done, or from the research they have done. The butyrate from the fermented foods can protect the brain and enhance plasticity in neurological disease models, which means it makes you smarter and more flexible and more creative, so you can be more productive during the day and enjoy life much better. The gut bacteria that produce the butyrate, okay, it just states that the butyrate is produced by the fermenting of the fiber from the plants, the carbohydrate fiber from the plants. And they also speculate that the high fiber diet can elevate butyrate to prevent brain disorders. So the fermented food can prevent brain disorders. What all that we can learn from the fermented food is that it's a good thing. You can add it to salads, you can add it on the side to the meat. You can add like 100 grams to it to your food, and it helps. There's a lot of probiotics. One thing that you have to do with the fermented food is that you have to decide which food you want to ferment. You buy it, you buy the kimchi, you buy the sauerkraut, you do ferment it at home. If you want to ferment it yourself, keep in mind that you remove excess water, remove excess moisture, so that there is no overgrowth and that the food is not soggy. When the food starts to taste sour, it means something went wrong. It starts to smell fishy, something went wrong. If you ferment with spices and if you ferment with air, it's also good. Just reduce the amount of water when you ferment. You can even ferment meat, but in this case you have to cover it with fat and smoke it and then ferment it in dry cold condition over 6 months, 1 year. Fermented vegetables are the best. They help you to gain muscular growth, and protect your brain, make you smart, keep you healthy and long living. You don't have to eat them a lot. They're better than the pills, better than the medicine, better than the fruits, better than the vegetables alone. Fermented vegetables is a superfood, and fermented fungi is also a superfood. I hope it helps. Do your own research, look into it. Ferment your food for 3 days, 4 days, half a week. Put it in the fridge, eat it, enjoy the process, and discover the fruits and foods that you like to ferment. I tried. If you want to ferment like food that is a lot of water inside, like cucumber or tomato, you'll have to use salt to prevent the bacterial overgrowth. This is why I don't like to ferment them. I just like to eat them with fermented fibrous food that is dry. Same thing, same effect. It ferments in the gut for a day or two and then comes out with the digestive byproduct of life. Okay, I hope it helps. Thank you for watching. Support the Creative Commons movement. Keep healthy, keep experimenting, keep cooking, and tell other people around, about it. Have fun.
Not sure what it is. Yes, he's making something. A lot of something he's making. He's making these ones. Not sure why, but people buy it. It's an Indian snack.
Indian snack.
It's like cigarettes in India. Interesting.
Però hi ha un efecte de la temperatura, que està més calent,
Puedes
facilita
hacer.
que es produeixi el llamp en allà. És que tot va passar a tot fer. I ara està tan calent l'altre, hi ha una diferència molt important. Anem-hi, Bruna?